now. Without LeBron, Lakers are struggling.
Let me tell you about a team I hate, all right? I know the Dallas Cowboy fan is here, so I had to make sure he knew how much I hate this team.
I'm ready.
I've often said that the people who run baseball, they try very hard to ruin it.
I'm from Brooklyn. I don't have a problem saying it to his face.
Oh, I'm from Brooklyn.
Hey, guess any.
This is a presentation of Northeast Streaming Sports.
What's up, everybody? It's another episode of Coast to Coast. I am your host, Pags. I got with me Bo on the other side. We got McLovin coming here shortly. You know, he's always running a little bit late. It's those Dallas fans that don't live in Dallas. They never got anything right. So, anyways, how you doing this morning, Bo?
Good, man. How about you? It's we finally got a little bit of a break from rainy weather and stuff, so it's nice. It's nice.
I mean, not for nothing. I slipped down some steps today. I fell on some ice and slipped down 4 steps, and it was a little mess. So my butt hurts, my elbow hurts, but I'm going to live. You know what I mean? The show must go on. You can't have slip and falls and have that just disrupt the world. So.
See, that's where you're good that you didn't have someone like me there, because I'd have just been like safe. Like
oh, trust me, I usually am the one laughing when there's falls. I was not laughing on this one.
Yeah,
This was definitely an oucher. I'm like, yeah, and on top of that, it was I'm not even going to go into it. It was a little bit of a mess, but all is well because I am here. And got to talk about this. We're going to talk about something to start off the show that does nothing to do with football, which is amazing because usually we are all football talk all the time. But today is something different because 18 years ago, the Lakers and the Raptors played, and Kobe Bryant set a record that, obviously, it was Wilt Chamberlain that scored 100 points. The second best is 81 points by Kobe Bryant. And 18 years to the day, last night, Karl Anthony Towns went for 62 points in a loss.
Yep.
Only to be eclipsed by Joel Embiid scoring 70 points. And in only 36 minutes. I mean, he was on fire. Imagine if he played that full game, he probably could have gone for the 100, at least gotten really, really close to it, or even eclipsed the 81 points.
I was going to say, he might have got the 81. I don't know if he'd have got to 100, but I think he could have got the 81.
Well, I think that once you start to get really close, they start feeding you the ball.
Well, of course.
So I feel like that you get a lot of that would have occurred. But 70 points, 18 rebounds, 5 assists, and a steal. I mean, that was a pretty good day by him. 70 is the highest in franchise history, eclipsing 68 by Wilt Chamberlain, 66 by Wilt Chamberlain, 65 by Wilt Chamberlain. I believe it was 60 by Allen Iverson and 59 by Joel Embiid. So he literally was teaching the young man from San Antonio, the Frenchman with the Japanese last name, Wembanyama, how to play this game. And he put on a clinic last night. So 24 of 41 with he had 21 of 23 foul shots. The guy was unstoppable last night. Thoughts?
No, I mean, it's impressive. Anytime you see, especially big men going for those points at this point, because, I mean, they just don't get the ball quite the way they used to. I mean, awesome to watch. I mean, obviously, nobody's hitting 100 points like that. I don't think that's going to be a thing. But but 70 is no joke. Like, that is a crazy accomplishment. Interesting that Karl Anthony Towns went for 62 and caught the L. I mean,
Yes.
usually when you put up those kind of points, most of the time you win.
Not true, actually. That's actually not true. When you put up a heavy amount of points, usually
Well,
that
you're
means the
not
rest of
doing
your
a lot.
team is not scoring,
Sure.
and that means you're losing those games. So I've seen uh, players that have hit for like 40 and 50 points and losses more than you've seen wins.
Yeah.
So
So that point range, yes, I agree with that. If you're in that like high 30s, low 40s, a lot of those can be L's. A lot of times when you're in the 60 plus point range, you don't even need a ton of points from your supporting staff typically. But yeah, no, if you're in the 40 point range, absolutely you can lose those games.
yeah, and so I mean, like I said, I see that more often than not.
Yep.
The fact that Minnesota did get beat in that game was kind of interesting. I mean, I when I heard that he got 62 points, and it's only the second time in NBA history that two players uh, have hit 60 points in a game on the same day, and it
Yep.
just so happens to be 18 years to the day of the 81 point performance. So, how about that? I mean, that's just something to be said for that.
Mhm.
And in the process of that, Weminyana didn't play too badly. You know, I was hearing before the game that everybody should take the Sixers today, take the Sixers today. And when I start hearing that, I absolutely want to go the other way. Don't
Sure.
take the Sixers. I wanted to take San Antonio, and obviously they didn't cover because in the fourth quarter they sat Joel. They were up by so many points, and they came back some. I mean, they it was only a 5 point difference in the quarter, so they must have been they must have scored a lot of points, and then they just came back and shut it all down and such. But Weminyana gets, like I said, he gets 33 points, and only 7 rebounds. So Joel Embiid was showing the guy how to get the ball. 18 rebounds was his career high. So interesting. And then on top of that, uh, it's still only like I said, one turnover in the midst of that. He only had 1 3. He shot 2 threes. First three he missed was fouled and wound up getting his first 3 points on foul shots. But that's what made him 1 for 2 from the 3 point line. So it wasn't anything else. And Mac, stop hiding behind Linda. Stop hiding behind Linda. Use your own thing, Mac. We don't want to hear how your Knicks stink and the Sixers are going to roll past. Yeah, I love how you always want to put in and blame Linda. Stop blaming Linda. Use your own. Use your own site. Anyways, but there you go. Like I said, it's 70 points was great, and really, it's funny because when you think about it, when Wilt Chamberlain hit his 100,
Mhm.
it wasn't a big deal because he had doubled his points.
Yeah.
Same thing was said for. I mean, he was at 35 and a half points per game. He kind of just doubled his points, his point total. He got to 70. It would have been 71, would have completely totaled, but he moved his point total from 35 and a half to 36.1 per game. To have that type of movement in one game's time is a
Is
big deal. That is a big
absolutely.
deal, especially for basketball. So it was interesting. And I got to imagine that right now, I know that it was back and forth with who should be the MVP. I assume that after that, it's going to teeter back towards Joel Embiid. Now, they're going to have another matchup later this week. I think it's Thursday against Denver, where Joel won the first meeting between the two MVP, combatants. I wonder if it's, you know, I wonder if it's going to be any different. Oh yeah, whenever much money you want to bet there, Mac, and whatever how much money you want to bet, I will take whatever amount of money you want to lose. The Knicks ain't got no chance, no chance. They could trade for everybody, and they still ain't going to beat the Sixers because they stink. Pu. Just so that you know. And if you want to add some of your Knicks stuff, then you could talk about that on your show. we don't talk Knicks here because we don't like talking about losers. But
Uh,
anyways,
so sticking with basketball, I guess, KD doing KD things is, out there saying he needs to be in the conversation for the greatest of all time and doesn't understand why he's not. And, it's funny. If you have to keep telling people that you are, you're probably not, right? Like, if you're not organically in that conversation, if you have to be like, hey, I'm that guy, well,
did he say it or did one of his Twitter say it?
So that I don't that I'm not entirely sure. I believe it was him, but basically someone asked him if he should be lauded in that light, and he's like, I think I should be, and it's like, well, again, if you're putting it out there as I should be, and it's not organically there, you're probably not quite there yet, right?
I'm not sure if he even makes the cracks the top 10 yet.
No, I'm with you. I mean, he does have an insane streak of all-star games and stuff like that. So I mean, it's not like the stats are terrible for him. I mean, he's got a couple of finals MVPs, an actual league MVP. I mean, so he's amassed a lot of stats. But yeah, I'm with you. He's definitely not in the conversation for the best. Top 10 is probably depends on who you ask, right?
And I'm saying that he doesn't even touch the top 10.
Yeah,
He may be on the lower side of the top 15.
Sure. No, I can see that.
But I mean, I think, and I'm not a basketball guy, but I think off the top of my head, 10 guys that I think are better than him.
Sure. Yep.
Just off the top of my head, and that's not even going crazy. I mean, it's like, so when you think about it, is KD better than Shaquille O'Neal?
No.
Okay. Is KD better than Kareem Abdul-Jabbar?
Nope.
You can't even put Magic Johnson or Larry Bird in that mix.
No.
Is he better than Bill Russell?
I mean, rings would say no.
But Bill Russell also had, Hall of Fame coach and Hall of Fame players around him too. So, I mean, obviously it was a lot of different things for that. But I mean, that's just 4 or 5 guys right there. I didn't even go into the Kobe or Magic Johnson or, Michael Jordan. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean,
no, exactly.
let's even put it. Is KD better than Scottie Pippen?
Man, I don't know about that, honestly. Yeah, I mean that. I feel like they're kind of about the same, right? Which would, and what Pippen is a top 20 probably all time, right? At a minimum.
I again tough to put that there. I'd maybe top 20. I'd go maybe top 25.
25. Okay. I mean,
because when I think of Scottie Pippen, the guys that are better than Scottie Pippen, that may not be in the top 20. I think of Dominique Wilkins.
Sure. Yeah.
I think of Karl Malone. Those are just two guys that would sniff the top 25 that I think are better than Scottie Pippen, which then puts me in the if Scottie Pippen and KD are equal, where does that fall?
Yeah, that pushes him down the list a little bit, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, we haven't even gotten to the point of like saying, hey, let's go with LeBron James even.
Yeah.
So I like I said, I wonder if this was one of his trolling Twitter.
It could be. It could be. I mean, he does get in his feels about a lot of stuff. So, I mean.
Yeah, he's another one who's like a little soft, I feel. You know what I mean? There's a reason why, between him and Westbrook and stuff like that, they couldn't seem to win anything together. So.
Well, I mean, especially when you think of how crazy that was, right? When they were with the Thunder, you had Durant, you had, Harden, right? Yeah, like you had all 3 of them together, and all of a sudden, Westbrook there too. So it's like, how do you not win with that?
Egos and crybabies.
Yep.
All three.
Absolutely. Now, as a Sonics fan, I was happy to see them crash and burn because they took our team and they can go, it's a family show. It's a family show. It's still early.
Yep.
But
And go pound sand.
yeah,
Imagine if
no doubt. So for them to crash and burn, it did make me smile a little bit.
Well, hey, listen, I get that. And what interests me is that after scoring, going the opposite way with, obviously the Sixers did win against a really, really bad San Antonio team. Uh, the Timberwolves, who are the best team really in the league, lost to a really bad Charlotte Hornets team. So it's, with a franchise record of 62 points by, KAT, just didn't, wasn't enough. And that's funny to me. That's kind of very funny to me that, and they won it in the last quarter, literally shut down. They shut down Minnesota in the last quarter, which means all they did was double Karl Anthony Towns, and he didn't score that many points. Nobody
Yep.
else was shooting because, literally 62 points was at half. Joel Embiid had more than half of the team's points, 70 points out of 133.
Yep.
The rest of the team scored 63 points. 62 points of 125 is just about half, like almost directly on. So the fact that he let that go, and the highest scoring for Charlotte was LaMelo. So that's just kind of funny to me that Charlotte Hornets beat Minnesota up pretty good in Minnesota, mind you. But how funny is it that 18 years to the day,
you get a couple monsters. Yeah,
you have that.
that's kind of crazy.
Is that like is it just, hey, everything kind of comes together on the same day? Is that how that kind of works? Or
Is it that? Is it just you're far enough into the season that everybody is, if they're going to be in a rhythm, that you're kind of falling into that time? Like, I don't know. It's kind of a interesting, point in the year to have like a huge number.
yeah, when I think about, hey, it was, he scored 81 points. And I got to imagine they won that game. I didn't even look to see who won that game with the Kobe Bryant.
You'd have to imagine.
And he dropped it. And actually, it only says that he scored 81 points. And it doesn't say.
That's weird.
Yeah. Interesting. So I don't know if they won that game or not. Somebody could tell us, I'm sure. Yeah. He only had 14 points in the first quarter, by the way. Yeah, the stars did align. That's what it is. Mama.
They did win 122 to 104.
122 to 104. So he had 2/3 of the points for that game.
Crazy.
So interesting. And Mac giving us a little bit of heads up that, hey, listen, wrong one. Here we are. Miami traded for Terry Rozier. Yay. We don't talk about basketball here unless something big happens. That's not big enough. So, ultimately, listen, I got to imagine that might be really good news for them, but and they get rid of Lowry. So, and a first rounder. So Kyle Lowry gets moved to the Hornets for starting guard Terry Rozier and a first round pick. So is a lottery protected 2027 and becomes unprotected in 28. So, if they make it to the lottery in 27, they get to take another, they get to push it off one more year. So interesting. I don't know if it's going to make enough for Miami, but I guess we will see. That being said, back to where we do all our bread and butter here in football. The Eagles had more talking today. They let go offensive coordinator Brian Johnson.
Hmm.
Not a surprise.
Yep.
The reason why it took so long, from what I heard, was because he was being uh, courted for possible head coaching positions. They did not want to fire him in the middle of the conversations. So it was like, okay, we're going to let this play out a little bit. Maybe he'll become a head coach. Once the two teams that were really interested in talking to him decided not to talk to him, the Eagles moved forward and said, okay, sorry, Brian, uh, this is not going to work. And let him go.
Yeah.
And of course, interestingly enough, the first name that I heard come up today in conversation was, since you're bringing in the coach of the Washington football team, Commanders, Redskins, whatever you want to call them this week, uh, the head coach, why not bring in the offensive coordinator to talk to as well?
Hmm.
And that was that was the first name that got dropped on
Interesting.
us. So I don't know if that's going to actually happen. If they are going to talk to him, I got to imagine it's going to require a phone call, anyways.
Yeah.
But it might be the case.
Yeah, and then
So
there was a little bit of movement. Shane Waldron moves from the Hawks as the OC to the Bears as the OC. So a lateral move there. It didn't sound like he had actually been fired yet, so it might have been a similar situation where they were going to let some things play out before they let him go. But yeah, he's going to be the coordinator for the Bears.
well, I got to imagine that probably had a little bit to do with that. He saw some of the writing on the wall the moment that Pete Carroll's no longer the coach. It's like, okay,
For sure.
maybe it's time for me to figure out some other types of employment.
Yep.
But there is talk that the Tennessee Titans intend to hire Cincinnati Bengals offensive coordinator Brian Callahan as their new head coach.
Yep.
Interesting. He spent 5 seasons with the Bengals as part of Zach Taylor's coaching staff, with Joe Burrow at quarterback. So it's interesting to see how he's going to take over the Titans. And of course, he had Joe Burrows over there to help him with that.
Yep.
It's
I
hard
mean,
to
they're
go against Joe.
crediting him with helping Burrow evolve, right? So they're hoping maybe he can do something like that there with Levis. So I guess I kind of get the thought process behind it. But we'll see, because there's not a lot around him, right? So they better hope they have a really good draft and free agency period.
Yeah, I mean, and obviously they got a starting quarterback right now as Will Levis.
Exactly.
Not exactly sure that's
Joe Burrow.
That's the guy that you want to have
We'll
all
see.
your eggs in that basket.
Yeah.
Not for me. It wouldn't be for me, but you never know.
Wait, you're not into the mayo and the coffee thing?
I'm not. I am definitely not. No, and I don't drink coffee in the first place, so putting mayo in there would just make it extra gross.
Absolutely.
Dan Morgan.
I drink coffee, and I couldn't do mayo. Well, I hate mayo anyway, but I mean, in your coffee, what are we even doing right now?
Exactly. Like what? Who? Yeah. No. Thank you. The Carolina Panthers promoting Dan Morgan to president of football operations and general manager. So this is the first move to try to get this franchise back in order.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's kind of a cool move, right? Because he was drafted by the Panthers, if I remember right. Right, he played down there, and
Yes,
then he was in Seattle's front office for 8 years or something. So I mean, he's been around. I think it's something that he could probably do. I feel like expectations are probably a little bit low. So if that is your first gig as a GM, hopefully Tepper has learned something and is going to let this guy kind of evolve with the position. But interesting pick. But I mean, kind of a feel good story if you like, hey, he was drafted here, he played here, now he's going to be the GM and help us get the ship right. And so, I mean, from a feel good story kind of thing, it's a cool hire. Hopefully, he has the time to actually grow into that position.
Well, I mean, who knows? Right? Because you never know what that ownership is going to do. I do find it very interesting. Obviously, before they even hired the GM, they've had 12 people that they have interviewed for coach.
Really, they've gone through 12 already. Wow.
Panthers have interviewed 12 head coaching candidates so far this year.
Dang,
that's a lot. That's a lot of interviews.
That is a ton, especially for not hearing about anybody being a front runner.
Yeah, they don't really say it in this here either.
Yeah,
that there is nobody that front runs this, although that's kind of to be expected. I can't imagine that you're going to have anybody who's going to be considered a front runner.
Yeah, I mean, you're gonna take the interview and then you're gonna feel out every other option first, and then you're gonna be like, I mean, I guess that one will work. Although, as volatile as that ownership is, how weird is that interview? Like, is that it almost seems like that would just be like a goofy interview process. Like, how volatile is that room just on the interview?
Well, didn't he pull himself from that room? That's why he hired somebody to actually start that process to find the right people in place. So in essence, he hired a company to come in and do the interviews for him because nobody wants to talk to him.
No, for sure. Yeah.
And that's I wouldn't want to talk to him. It's like, oh yeah.
Answer, glass to the face.
Ooh. So there, Debo Samuel may not play this weekend. It's a to be determined.
Yeah.
Not a fracture.
I was going to say I didn't hear the official. I didn't hear anything beyond that. I should say they're like it's not a fracture, but then there really wasn't any more information as far as last night. So maybe you're reading something different now than what I saw yesterday. But it was just like, okay, it's not broken, but we don't know. So I don't know if that means there's going to be further testing, but if he's not playing, they're going to have a hard time beating the Lions.
I agree. Yeah. And obviously it's that line is a lot better than I'll even say Tampa's line. Their offensive line in San Francisco is much better, but you start to take away weapons from Brock, he starts to get a little nervous, especially one that he went to all the time with Debo. So
yes, I mean that's his main target. That's his dude.
Yeah,
and even when he's not going to him, he is his first look. Like he goes through his progression. That's that guy. Which I mean, fair enough. He's a dynamic player. But yeah, you take that kind of weapon off of any team. Honestly, it's going to change the landscape of that team.
Right. Agreed. And you thought like when both it was Debo and Ayuk that Ayuk was actually they were 1 and 1A. It's not the case actually. Debo has been 1 and Ayuk has been like really option number 3.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because CMC.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting now. It's going to be, and I still think Ayuk is still going to be number 3 because now you got CMC and then you got the tight end over there.
Oh yeah.
So that may still be, Ayuk being the number 3, and he's a pretty good receiver. So it'll be interesting to see if he can make it. Like I said, I think it'll be really hard, and depending on the weather, if it's a little rainy over there. That's going to really hurt the 49ers.
I was surprised they looked as bad as they did. Like, it's not like it was monsoon rain. It was just kind of wet, right? Like it's just your standard West Coast, not pouring, just kind of damp. Um, yeah, it didn't seem like there should have been the ball handling issues that it appeared to be.
Well, it starts all with Brock Purdy,
No, for sure.
and ultimately, uh, the one thing that you could say, that he's got not going for him is that he's got fairly small hands. He's not a big guy in general, so he's got smaller hands. So when it's wet, that's a problem for him. That's why he was. We're gonna do it with the gloves on. We're gonna not do it with the gloves on. It becomes a big challenge for him. He was like, I don't know, I don't know. And that's why you saw wobblers. I mean, he threw a number of wobblers out there. Uh,
Absolutely.
that's a big deal. So if not sure what the weather's going to be like in San Francisco this Sunday, but if it's raining, that might be a little bit of a challenge
Yeah, I would
for.
say that would definitely favor Detroit, right? I mean, if that's the case, not that Detroit plays outside or anything, but you know they seem better equipped to play in it.
Well, and it's not like there's no fear of snow. It's not going to snow
No, of
at all.
course not.
So I kind of feel like all right, that's going to, ultimately, it ain't going to be too cold. It might be wet, and it might be, it's going to be definitely a hostile environment because they're going to be in Santa Clara.
No doubt. Although they're going to travel.
Yeah.
I mean, they are hands down going to travel with that Detroit team. Like they
Oh,
are.
absolutely. I've already spoken to a few friends that said that they're doing everything they can to get out there. So
Absolutely.
I expect that there's going to be at least 10 to 15,000. It was their home game was like the highest price playoff game of all time. Like the prices that their tickets were going for was
Oh,
like
that's
the
right. It was like
highest
$1,100, right?
that for just to get in the building,
Yeah.
just to get in the
Damn.
building. And that's absolutely ludicrous. Absolutely
Absolutely.
ludicrous. I was not going to pay $1,200.
Not a
And
chance.
a lot of my friends are season ticket holders, so they didn't pay $1,100 either.
No, of course.
But if you're going to be able to sell two tickets for $1,100 each, I would buy my season tickets for next year off of the one playoff game that you guys just did. So
100%. Yeah.
I kind of feel that, and I would have been there with them. I wouldn't have had to pay those prices, thank God, because it would have been too much for me. Like, I would not have gone to that game had I needed to pay $1,100 for
For
that.
sure.
So, $1,100 I would maybe pay for the NFC Championship game if somebody was going to put me in the front row and do that. Like that's where you spend that money. Um,
Sure.
$1,100 doesn't even get you in the building for a Super Bowl.
No, not
So.
even close.
Yeah, it's close. You can get $1,500 tickets for a Super
Can you?
Bowl to get in the building. Yeah, you can
Standing
get in the
room
building.
only?
It's yeah, no, you get up at the very highest spots. Yeah, maybe not in Vegas, but I know that there were people that got in for $1,500. Um, in Arizona, and they were all the way up in the very nosebleeds and such. So it's not like they had front row seats or what have you. But I mean, I spent $5,000. I didn't spend it. Somebody else spent $5,000, and I got to go to the game. Um, thank you to Philly Sports Trips for sponsoring my trip to the Super Bowl. But and I got to sit next to Malcolm Jenkins, which was amazing. You know what I mean? It's like it's kind of cool when you're like, yeah, and he says, "Hey, I need to take a picture of you." And I'm like,
Yeah.
"Well, if you're going to take a picture of me, I'm going to get my camera out too."
Exactly. Exactly.
So, and as he was wearing his ring,
Yep.
because of course he did win one with the Eagles.
Yep.
So, and I think he actually had two. He may have had two rings. He got one with the Saints as well.
Oh, okay.
He might have. I don't remember. I don't remember specifically, but I know that he definitely had his Eagles one on. And but yeah, $1,100 just to get into the game. I don't know if I'm doing it for a divisional game. You know what I mean? That's really a tough pill to swallow. for that
Yeah,
much
I mean,
money
if you
for.
could get sponsored for it, sure. I'm not spending that for a divisional game. As soon as you tack that on to eating anything and parking and all of everything that goes into it, um, yeah, I'm gonna throw a banger at a sports bar and have all my friends come with me, and yeah,
Pay about half that.
it, at best, right?
Yeah, like $600. If you're doing it well, Buffalo Wild Wings, I'm
Sure.
sure it's going to be about $600.
Yeah, it
Go
might
there.
be. Yeah, even still, right? It's probably going to be a third of what it would have cost you to go down to the stadium. So, yeah, I'd probably be going that route.
So, and there you have it. But that's. I'm not exactly sure how much the ticket prices are going to go. I will check that for tomorrow. We'll see exactly what ticket prices are going to go. We're going to let them simmer for today. Let that simmer for today. In retrospect, the AFC Championship game, obviously, the Bills and Chiefs game was the most watched playoff game really of all time. Divisional game, definitely. Over
Sure,
50 million viewers
that
watching
makes
that game.
sense. That makes sense.
So, I mean, when you think about, how many people watch the Super Bowl,
Hmm.
it's like I expect that the Super Bowl this year should hit 500 million people this year.
Yeah.
Before I think it was like around 300, 330 or whatever. I think that's the highest it's been. It
Okay.
could be up to 500 million this year. And the reason why I say that is because the numbers have been increasingly growing
Hmm.
this year in football. I mean, the most watched football game I think this year that wasn't on Thanksgiving was the Eagles Chiefs. You know, until the I think the Chiefs played somebody else. So it would seem to me like the Chiefs right now they could be considered America's team because they have the Swifties.
For sure.
They're definitely the Swifty team because they want to see their girl Taylor all excited. They do not want to see Jason Kelsey with his shirt off screaming anywhere. They
I
want to
mean, I
see
think
Taylor
they
Swift.
do.
So, and you notice how Taylor Swift did not give Jason Kelsey a hug with his shirt off. That did not happen. So, interesting. It just interesting things that you hear over the grapevine of what's happening and what's going on in the world.
Hmm.
That being said, I mean, we didn't really get into the games as much yesterday after the second hour. So the second half, the Sunday games were there's a lot more to really talk about with that. Jay was all over the place and didn't want us to really talk about those games because he's all just bummed that there's no Cowboys to talk about. Where have all the Cowboys gone? To the bench. They are sitting on the couch. With the Eagles right now too, so I can't really complain about that.
Yep.
Um, but that Chiefs Bills game, I mean, I'm actually surprised at how the Bills could not stop the Chiefs.
Me too.
I mean, that
Especially
was that
for
was
a Chiefs team that has really not had great offense all year. Like I was really surprised by that. Yeah. I mean, again, it's why I was saying yesterday. It looked more like it was a mental letdown than anything else because the Bills were the better team. They didn't play like it, but I mean, they were the better. They were the better roster.
I agree, and I mean they go out, they go down the field, they don't score the touchdown again.
Mhm.
That first score has to be a touchdown.
Yeah.
Has to be a touchdown. It cannot be just a field goal. And that's part of the problem. I feel like that when you kick a field goal there, that's a win for the other team.
Hmm.
You have to, and it doesn't matter. You have to do something about it. You got to get it in the end zone. You got to get it in the end zone.
Absolutely.
And then the Chiefs go down and they kick a field goal, and that's how that whole quarter ends. So literally, it's like 3-3, and then Buffalo has the lead going into the halftime. They have the lead going to the end of the third quarter, And the Chiefs just go and they score that one touchdown right at the beginning of the fourth quarter. And the Bills had the ball 3 times. Obviously, one ending with a missed field goal, wide
Yep.
right. So, and I got to imagine that everybody's blaming him. I got to imagine he got the death threats.
Of
What
course.
was hysterical to me, the biggest hysterical thing to me, they shut the hot water off on the Chiefs
No,
locker
right?
room.
That is pretty fantastic.
Yeah, I'm like, damn, that's just cold. That's
Right?
just
Get out
cold.
my building.
We lost, you bastards.
Yep.
That's hysterical. And realistically, I they should get fined. They should get fined for that. Somebody
Well,
should have to pay
I'm
for
sure
that.
they will. I'm sure they will. There's no way that the NFL doesn't do something if they legitimately turned it off.
Yeah, well, I got to imagine the Bills didn't. Somebody was like, you know what? I'm bitter, and you're going to pay for this.
Somebody breaks in the
Wha-
mechanical room and just shuts it down.
Yeah, somebody who lost like their mortgage for the next 3 months on there. Um, but that was hysterical. That's when I heard that, I'm like, that's so funny, and that's so very Bills Mafia like. Like let's just go ahead and turn off the water. We forgot to pay the water bill. Sorry, guys. No showers for you there.
Yeah, that's right. Have fun on the airplane.
And you know what? That's fine because they got the W, and you guys are still going home on the couch with the Cowboys.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
and then I'm reading something from Joe that he's saying that, hey, was it Joe that says Josh Allen is this generation's Tony Romo?
I mean, I would disagree with that. I would say Dak is this generation's Tony Romo. I would say that Josh Allen is probably more like this generation's Brett Favre, where he will kind of get in his own way when it matters. Now I get Brett Favre won one, but I can't rule out the fact that Josh Allen might sneak one in sometime. But
Hey, how about maybe Bernie Kosar?
could be that. Could be that. Yeah. So
Bernie,
yeah.
Bernie Kosar could never win a big one.
Well, I was just thinking the Brett Favre comparison because he will just haul off and throw have a 4-pick game because he's just chucking the rock around, not really paying attention. Exciting to watch, though. Exciting to watch.
Yeah, I can imagine. It's it's a shame. It's a shame that they always are running into the Chiefs.
Yep.
So that's the big deal. I At what point do you have to let McDermott go?
I mean, it's tough. It's tough to let him go in this scenario because they barely lost, right? Like it was a late game field goal. The guys were in position, you know. Um, well, at least Dustin's mad about it. Well, and that's the thing. Diggs drops a perfect ball that, was way downfield. You missed that field goal at the end to tie it up. So I wouldn't really say that's a coaching issue, right? That's an execution problem. So I don't know that you can really fault him for that. Now, had they gotten blown out by KC, then I think that really becomes a conversation. Anytime you get blown out in a playoff game and you look completely unprepared, your coaching acumen comes into question. If you lose a close one against a rival in a playoff game where, if you make it to the playoffs, teams are good, right? So that's where I think he gets some grace on that. But yeah, had they gotten like just smacked by KC, that becomes a real conversation.
Yeah, but it's one catch or one drop, one miss is
Well,
not a game.
it was one. It was one from Diggs, but there were actually a few throughout the game that could have changed, how that game went down. The Diggs one was just square in the hands. So, but yeah, I think he gets some latitude on this because of how they lost. Wasn't egregious, right? Like again, if it was a
Yeah, but
blowout,
it's never egregious. It's never egregious when it comes to this.
I mean, I don't know. We watched,
Would you look
Dallas.
at it as egregious last year or 2 years ago when they allow a team to come back? Uh, what was it? Go and travel 50 yards in 13 seconds to kick a
Sure,
game time field goal.
sure.
That's definitely a coaching issue, I would say. That's definitely a
It is.
problem
That
there.
100%.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's one of those where I think your DC is who takes the fall on that, though. Not necessarily your head coach. I think your DC is who gets nailed by that, because then all of a sudden you are playing a defense that is way too soft. Or you're just picking a poor defense to run. We saw plenty of that coming down the stretch for teams. Where defensive coordinators started to play either soft or just like a weird defense for the situation. I think that doesn't necessarily get your head coach fired, but definitely gets a DC fired. Yes, I know.
yeah. It's wow. There is no yeah,
Yes.
there is no defense with Matt Patricia.
Yeah, exactly.
At least not this year. You know, at one point he had good defenses. You know what I mean? But were they his defenses, or or were they Belichick's defenses?
Exactly.
So that's the hard part with those types of situations. So, it's I don't know. I guess I could say, you know, if he's the one that's running the defense, and ultimately it's the defense that lost this game because realistically they couldn't stop them. They could not
Yep.
stop Kansas City.
Yep.
And that's really the play. That's really what it is. Oh, look at this. We got a light bulb in the house. We
Hey,
found the light bulb.
How you fellas doing today?
good. How about you, man?
Well, it's been fair to middling. Nothing better than a good VA visit, let me tell you.
Hey, that's it.
But no, hey, I'll tell you, man. I saw. I don't know how you guys are in, but did y'all see where it looks like the Browns are talking about bringing Flacco back?
We haven't gotten to that point yet.
Okay, I don't know if y'all were going to talk about. I just saw that. I was like, wow, they're really going to do good times.
Well, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. I mean,
Oh no, not at all.
He's going to be holding a clipboard, and probably it would be a good teacher for Mr. Massage Guy.
I don't know. I mean,
he's never going to live that one down. That's going to be with him forever.
For
Right.
sure. What's the over-under? He plays a full season next year. I mean, Flacco's going to play.
Oh yeah. No, I fully agree with you on that. And the thing about it was, I think what really, as he's a little older, but he didn't look, he looked refreshed. He looked good. I mean, for being out of the game for a little bit and not having that starting role, he just kind of slid right back into it like it never left. So I think for a backup role, he's perfect. I mean, he's perfect. He can come in, and he can still continue. If you have aspiration for playoffs, if Deshaun goes down, he can come in, and you're not like, oh my God, there goes the whole season. You're more or less like, okay, let's see what we can do with him, which still gives you hope, right? So
outside of that last game when Deshaun got hurt, I mean, Flacco's numbers were better than Deshaun's anyway.
Yeah, which kind of makes you wonder is Deshaun. I mean, because the initial excuse for him was, well, he hasn't played in a while. He's got rust, this, that, and the other. But it just seems like since he's been in Cleveland, like just nothing has gone right for him. Well, nothing. Injuries, play, all of it.
That first year where he played the back half of the season after getting suspended, you kind of gave him that, hey, he hasn't played in 2 years. He didn't get the preseason, so you're just like, okay, he's going to kind of be back. Like you assume that's true. But then this year he has all of preseason. He gets to work out with the team, OTAs, all of that, right? And then he comes in, and you're just like, oh no, this is still kind of terrible.
Right.
And then what week did he get hurt? Like 13, 14, something like that. I don't remember exactly offhand, but so he gets hurt somewhere around in there. He has the one good game where he ends up getting hurt at the end, and you're just like, okay, well, I mean, so are the last 20 games that we watched what he is, or is the 45 minutes of this game that we watched what he is? And so, now he has the rest of this year off, and I guess we'll find out. Yeah, I mean, I think you keep Flacco around because he has a tendency to get hurt, and he hasn't looked very good. I don't know if I'd bet my house on that, though.
I just wonder, if Cleveland at some level is having buyer's remorse on him.
Oh, they are.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, they gave him all that fully guaranteed, and I'm like, yeah. And then the other half of me goes, well, is Deshaun really that good? I mean, I know he had some decent seasons in Houston, but is he really? I don't. There's a lot of drama and just a lot of stuff that surrounds him that just, I have a lot of doubts about him now.
Well, I mean,
I'm not feeling like him,
Like I said before, there's nothing I've ever done where I took 2 years off and somehow got better at it.
Oh, I agree. Absolutely. God, what a time to be alive.
And hey, listen, wasn't it the ex-Cowboy receiver that went over there to Cleveland and started the whole big deal with, hey, how do you follow somebody who oils up his booty hole?
Oh, man.
That was an exact quote.
Wow. Oh, I'm pretty sure that's an exact quote, or Pags is definitely going off the rails and making Jay look better.
Wow. No. That was an exact quote from.
Wow.
Yeah, who was
that? Was it Cooper? Was it Cooper that said that?
Cooper, Amari Cooper.
Wow.
Really? Wow.
Said that at the very beginning. He's like, how do you follow somebody into battle with like that?
I mean, especially that seems like the comment that would come out of the center before a wide receiver.
I don't know about that.
I'm just saying. I mean, that is the most intimate relationship the two players have on the football field as a center and quarterback. So,
yeah, I mean, I don't know if you're the center, how lubed up you want the guy behind you.
Well, I mean, if he's the one lubed up, it's not the center. Hey, listen, I'm not talking about which way things are supposed to go here. You know what I mean? Pitchers and catchers don't report for another couple of weeks. Anyways.
Sounds like they are.
So, and how long exactly? I think this is Deshaun's second year of Cleveland, correct?
It is. Yeah.
But he only has 12 games in the books.
Yeah, because he only played a handful of games.
Yeah, 12 games, and we're already. Well, I guess what I'm getting at is we're 12 games into his quote unquote career, and everybody's got to be having buyer's remorse on that one. 12 games in, I mean that's not a lot of time to really.
Especially because he keeps getting hurt, right? Like had he had that one game that was good, and say he doesn't get hurt, and he continues to play, but he plays not as good as that game, but maybe a little bit better than the preceding games, you can sort of feel better about what potentially could happen next year. You're like, okay,
right.
Had a full season. We're seeing him kind of work through the rust and get back up to speed. Like you could feel a little bit better about that. But for him to really not be great, it wasn't horrendous, but he wasn't great. Has one good game, gets hurt, and now you're back to that square one where you're like, all right, well, I mean, now what?
Yeah, and I wonder if and I don't think it will, but I always kind of wonder, you ever heard this song, it takes one bad egg to run it for the barrel. So I wonder, if him, getting that fully guaranteed goes out so far as like kind of a goose egg for them, if that makes other teams more or less leery of doing that fully guaranteed for other quarterbacks that may be trying to do what Deshaun did.
No, you're definitely not going to see anybody doing that because when you look at the guaranteed contracts at the quarterback position, you have Deshaun and you have Kirk Cousins on his third one, right?
Right.
And all of those guys together have one playoff victory, right? So what is
sounds about right?
What's that guaranteed money getting you? Because it surely isn't incentive based. Right. Because they're getting paid either way. So, and if it equates to one win, and then you look at all these other contracts that are incentive laden contracts, and you have Super Bowl rings and playoff wins. And I mean, yeah, it's not attractive to be guaranteeing money for something that hasn't produced wins or trophies or even division titles.
Or anything.
Like, there's
other than taking up a locker space.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, not only that, but when you saw the other quarterbacks sign this year, this past offseason,
Yep.
Right.
and they were saying, "Hey, listen, this is the standard now." They're like, every team was like, "That's not the standard. That's the Browns. We're not
Right.
going.
Yes.
We're not going to take it in the Brown. We're going to do what we do, and we're going to disregard that."
Yep.
And that's what they did. That was everything with Lamar Jackson. Lamar
Well,
Jackson was and he realized that, hey, listen, nobody is going to do what Cleveland did.
Well, you
that
also
they
need
were
to
the
keep in
outlier.
mind when you look at the franchises that have given guaranteed contracts to quarterbacks, right? They're not exactly upper echelon teams. You're talking about the Browns. You're talking about Washington. You're talking about the Vikings.
Right.
These aren't perennial winners, right? They are trying to attract a quarterback to come to their franchise. And so, I mean, at the end of the day, what are you going to do, right? I mean,
but that's not necessarily true, because you also have the Chargers, then you have the Broncos, and I understand that it hasn't worked, but ultimately,
those weren't fully guaranteed contracts.
But they were mostly guaranteed.
I think the one that kind of came the closest, Lamar. I mean, Lamar came pretty close to fully guaranteed. I don't know if he quite got the fully guaranteed though.
No, his isn't fully. It ended up being a fair amount short of the fully guaranteed. I mean,
right.
it still has.
I think it's 275, and he had like 200 guaranteed.
Exactly. Yeah.
So
right. So he's about 75 million shy. Which, I mean, I feel like if Lamar's not going to get a fully guaranteed, I just can't imagine. Like you said, I can't imagine other quarterbacks getting the fully guaranteed. Which makes me wonder. The second question is, who's going to set the market next? I can't. It won't be Dak, because Dak's up for a contract. But Jerry is not the kind of guy that's going to give out that kind of money. He just never has to. I think he'll get a good. I mean, he'll get a large contract, but I don't think Jerry's going to set the market on Dak. So I wonder again, do you think Jordan Love, who's also up for contract, will Green Bay, who has paid a lot of money, right? Who has given Aaron Rodgers and made Aaron Rodgers high? Will they give him?
No, I don't think they've seen enough, but they have another year to make that decision. No.
They do. Well, you're right, because they get the one more.
Exactly. I want the Cowboys to give it to Dak. You guys would be welcome back to 8-8. I guess 8, whatever. Man, that would be hilarious.
I agree. I think that Dak deserves every penny he gets, and it should be $265 million a year, take up 3/4 of the cap space.
Exactly.
That's right up Jerry's alley. He's not even listening. The dog is.
He's tuning us out.
He's all dogged up.
I'm sorry, man. Hey, it's like having a permanent 3-year-old. And I put him. I don't know if you ever seen the movie Turner. Look, he's a 132-pound mastiff. Yesterday, the guy stopped in front of the window because Blue's a natural guard dog, and Blue put his whole damn paw through the window. So now I got to pay for a window. And then I put his ass in the damn laundry room, because it's kind of. But then he starts fucking up the door. So I don't know, man. The damn dog's an asshole. It really is like that movie, though. I'm telling you, man. The Mastiffs, they are something else, man.
Seems like a coaching issue.
You know what? I have put money into this dog, training this dog, and he still looks at me like, you can put $1,000 into me. I'm still going to do what I want. So at some point, you got to stop with the money,
It's called.
So now I'm just feeding cats.
Bullheaded. It's a bull mastiff. It's bullheaded.
If it was a bull mastiff, this is a French mastiff. It's the smallest of the mastiffs.
Oh, yeah.
Can you imagine that? 132
pounds. Don't like Americans. We don't like Americans. That's what it is. They don't like you.
It is what it is. I gave him a croissant the other day. He looked at me like, "What the hell? That's racist." So you can't win or lose on this one. But no, I hope. They're gonna. I know Jerry's gonna give Dak a long contract, and I hate it because he's gonna lock us into this guy Even if we go well, even if they get rid of McCarthy and bring in another coach, McCarthy once again doesn't get it done. We're still tied. We're gonna be tied to this guy forever. So it's like even if you win, you still lose. That's what I hate about it, the whole damn thing, right?
No, it's enjoyable. It's good times.
Yeah, well, listen, obviously, if they don't give Dak a new contract, which way are they going?
Yeah,
Kirk
exactly. I would tell you what the smart move, if I was Dallas, what I would do, and I'm sure Dak may or may not play, but if I didn't know if McCarthy was going to be my head coach, I might put a franchise tag on him for 1 year, wait and see what McCarthy does, see what they do, and if they don't, then give him carte blanche. But that's not going to work. But that's what I would do. I just don't like going long term with this guy. Maybe you give a 2-year deal and you see how it works. But I think anything more than 2 makes me nervous trying to ride back any more than 2.
They give up 3 number ones and take over Deshaun's contract.
See, there you are speaking that into existence because you know what? That's exactly what I can see possibly happen. Thank you very much, Bo.
There
would
we
be
go.
terrible. That would be
On
terrible.
that note, we are at the top of the hour. So let us go through our station identification. We'll be back in just a few minutes with the second hour of Coast to Coast.
We're at the top of a lot of things.
I mean, you can see right now, without LeBron, Lakers are struggling.
Let me tell you about a team I hate, all right? I know the Dallas Cowboy fan is here, so I had to make sure he knew how much I hate this team.
I'm ready.
I've often said that the people who run baseball, they try very hard to ruin it.
I'm from Brooklyn. I don't have a problem saying it to his face. Oh, from Brooklyn. Hey, you guys any?
Trisha's having a sleepover tonight. Can I go?
I wonder about Lucy's friends. What should I say? I know you're only 10, but one of these days a friend will offer you a drink. And alcohol at your age can lead to so many things. None of them good.
So can I go to the sleepover?
Lucy, I want you to promise me
I
something.
finished my homework.
Bigger promise. If there's any drinking, I want you to say, "No thanks, not my thing."
Mom.
I promise you. Your real friends won't care. Deal?
Sure.
Really?
I promise, Mom.
They really do hear you.
Did you pack your toothbrush?
For tips on how to start the talk, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov, a public service message from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration.
Supporting the needs of our veterans. That's the goal of all of us at Team AmVets. Like Mitch, Carlos, and Kevin from our Welcome Home team that brings furniture to our vets.
We are Team AmVets.
Or Linda from our thrift stores who brings you great bargains every day.
I am Team AmVets.
And John, who picks up your thrift store donations that support California veterans programs.
I am Team AmVets.
Visit our website or Team AmVets thrift store to donate or shop today.
Join the team!
This is a presentation of Northeast Streaming Sports.
And here we are back for our second hour of Coast to Coast, where we learn about what makes a dog an asshole.
The laundry list is long, let me tell you.
So I tell you, we always get these unique topics here on Coast to Coast. One of the things, you know what, since you weren't here for the first start of this show, I want to talk a little bit. What are your thoughts on Joel Embiid's 70-point performance on the anniversary of the 81-point performance of Kobe Bryant?
Yeah. Well, we've always known, I've always felt, MB is capable of these kinds of games. It's just injuries have always kind of plagued him, and he really is, everything that goes on in Philadelphia is no different than, with Kobe, everything kind of funnels through Embiid. So, Yeah, I mean, I didn't. It didn't surprise me at all. I was kind of curious to see if it would happen. I don't know if he'll ever get to 81, but 70. I always thought 70 was realistic. I mean, there's been lots of times where I felt like he made a good case for MVP, but it's just Joker had a little bit more, or the other guy had a little bit more that just kind of kept him from it. And I think a lot of that was just due to lack of playing time, due to injuries, kind of kept him out of that. So it doesn't surprise me that he got to 70. It just surprised me how long it took him. And I think the answer to that is just because of injuries, keeping him out of a lot of games. I mean, he for his first part of the year, or when he was in his career, he didn't even play for the first 2 years after he was drafted because of injury. So it's always been a plague of his.
Well, you know what, though? It was such a seamless 70. Like, it was just like, yep, I'm going to throw it up there. Oh, look, it went in. Here's another one. It's going to go in. And that's the way it was. I mean, it was, pretty amazing in terms of how he hit his 70. And listen, if he played maybe an extra 6 minutes, because he only played 36 minutes, so he missed a whole quarter, really
Right.
35 and a half, 35 and like 40 seconds. Had he played somewhere close to like 39, 40 minutes in that game, he may have gotten the extra 11 points. So,
and by the way, kudos to the Sixers for not trying to push him like that. And because one of the things too, when you're trying to get something so hard, and you do have an injury or a list of injuries, sometimes you try to force things. When you try to force things, your body, you can twist things the wrong way, and then that can lead to injury. So they have to still be somewhat responsible with his minutes, because if they're not, then they lose him for the whole season. And an individual award, as nice as it is not necessarily, I think, what the Sixers or necessarily Joel is trying to do. But like you said, and again, I think it's kind of interesting the fact that he got it on San Antonio, which has a big guy like, Wembanyama in there. And I'm really surprised Wembanyama didn't get some blocks on Joel. But then again, I'm not, because I think Joel would look at him like, look, bro, I know you got a few inches on me, but you do understand that I can literally like bolt through your ass.
Yeah, I was going to say, he's only like
you know what I mean?
Well, I think it was a clinic to teach the young man how to play.
Or to hit
like
the
I
gym,
said,
one of the two. I don't know.
Yeah, the French guy who's got a Japanese name, literally, learn.
He is kind of a conundrum with that. I mean, literally, I didn't even think about that, but it does. Yeah, it's kind of weird.
He's got, he learned how to play some basketball yesterday. And he still scored 33 points. So obviously,
7 boards, 2 assists. I mean, he had a good game.
This is like when David Robinson first got there.
Right.
You know what I mean? He was, the Admiral was there. He just got out of the Navy. He got out 2 years early because, hey, listen, there ain't no ship we can put you on that you could fit underneath the hatch. So he's like, okay, let's, we're going to let you go play in the NBA. And he got there, and they stunk for the first couple years.
Right.
But they also, that's what they do. They stink for a couple of years. They do their own process that the NBA allows them to do, because it's Popovich, and Popovich, he's never going to try to lose games purposely. He's just going to have a shitty team. So,
and that's pretty much the way it's gone for him too. Because he is. And let me say this. I was thinking about this the other day. I was like, as good as Wembanyama is, he's a guy. The type of player that he is perfect for the way the NBA is played and things of that nature. The fouls, the way the foul system is set up as it is compared to back in the day when Patrick Ewing, and Olajuwon and Shaq were playing the game, because there's no way in hell that Wembanyama's holding down the low post. They are going to blow through that kid. His frame, but that's what I'm about to learn. Like, his frame is built for this style of basketball. And that's why he's so perfect for this style of basketball.
For sure.
If you put his butt back in the 80s and he ain't lasting, he's going to go home with a broke back or broke arms or broke legs. Because, they didn't call fouls. They're ticky-tack fouls like they do. They played.
It was like, he's like Sean Bradley. He's like Sean Bradley.
Yes.
And I trust me, and I know a lot about Sean Bradley too, because he was a Philadelphia Sixer. He got drafted number 2 because he was 7'6". But his thing was that he didn't have heart, and he did have heart. The problem was he couldn't gain weight. He had too much. He couldn't put any pounds on to get some strength, and that was
Yeah.
part of the problem with him. This kid's young, so he's going to be able to put some weight on and put some mass on. And I gotta imagine they got him eating the creatine and in the weight room and stuff
Oh
like
man,
that.
I would be feeding him so much. I'd have IVs feed him while he's sleeping. I mean, literally put food into his body. But you know what? I guess I really should stand corrected. I say he couldn't play the center position of back in those days. I think he can certainly do a forward. Like they'd have to move him over to forward because he does have a great outside shot. Like he can hit the three. He can hit. He almost like a Tim Duncan. Outside forward playing the game, and I think he would do okay there. But just not at the center spot because you got to have some beef on you to play that center spot. You got some tree trunks.
Here's what I noticed. From that game specifically last night. Obviously, there was 18 rebounds by Joel Embiid. 9 were offensive rebounds. 9 were defensive rebounds. Not really concerned about that. He got 18 rebounds. It's the most he's ever had in his career. Good for him. What I did notice was that B-Ball Paul had played 13 minutes and got 8 rebounds, 5 offensive, 3 defensive. And what that means to me is that Wembanyama is not going on the defensive boards. When he's defending, he's not underneath the basket, and that's where he needs to be if he's going to be getting those rebounds and protecting everything around him. So, and I got to imagine that's fully in charge of. That's because of the weight. He doesn't have the weight to be able to do it. He can't be up under there because he can't take the banging. He's too small to take the banging.
It's funny. It's one thing that it's weird to watch in today's NBA is there's a lot of tall guys that would normally be in that center position that would be getting offensive, defensive boards, stuff like that really like to shoot from the perimeter, and they're out of position to get a board anyway. So it's very interesting to watch these 7-footers jacking up threes, and you're just like, man, like, go get a board, man. Like, I get you're pretty good at a three. It would be cool, an offensive rebound.
Oh yeah. Well, and that's one of the things. Like I said, I like him. He's a great guy, and a lot of people will say, well, he really deserved the MVP. But I just say, and I know I hate going for foreign players, but because I like to keep it in the U.S., but we can't. Foreign players are just amazing at what they're doing, and what Joker's doing over there in Denver is just extraordinary. The guy's a walking triple double, and that really is up at all facets of the game. But what I like most about Joker is he knows it's not about him. He will dish out. He will. He worked within the system. He's not trying to take all the shots. And that's why I think he makes him in my opinion, he's the best in the league right now, in my opinion. Just because of how he gets his whole team involved, and it's not just about him, but yeah, he still gets all these stats, and he's not even trying to get the stats.
Oh, wow.
I disagree. I think he's trying to get stats.
Tristan Thompson just got suspended for 25 games, NBA's anti-drug policy.
Uh-oh. Let's go and read what happened there.
Shocker.
Breaking news from ESPN.
Yeah, it's Cavs suspended, and what was he doing? For 2 substances, ibutamorin and SARM LGD 4033.
Good Lord. Can we get some language terms? Is that the definition of crack? What is that? There's a lot of numbers in that.
Yeah. I got to imagine that is called steroids.
I'm about to say that. Yeah.
So, and ultimately he's going to say, hey, I took some supplement that I didn't realize it had this, blah, 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 blah.
It was a pop muffin, I swear, yeah.
Hey, I do that. I eat the everything bagels, so I'm all about the poppy.
Hey, I do. Hey, that everything bagel really is the stuff, man.
Hey, but you're failing a drug test.
You know what? Thank God.
Good.
Thank God I do not have to take any drug tests, so we're good. We're in good shape for that. Report 25 minutes ago, Chargers offer to Harbaugh extremely strong.
Yeah.
Twice.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. That doesn't, especially when they brought me up for the second interview.
Yeah, exactly. You have a follow-up interview. Odds are, something's going to happen there. Although it does sound like Belichick's second interview in Atlanta didn't necessarily garner any traction. So that's interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting.
It's like they probably said, hey, listen, if you're going to want full control, we need to have the dog at GM. And if you're not going to give the dog at GM, then we have nothing more to talk about. And I think that's it. Because that was really the best draft when, for the COVID year, when the dog was the GM, they picked the best picks they had in a draft in a long time.
Yeah.
So, especially you have a mastiff that is just, that can't really think. His dog Pig makes picks for football teams. That's what you need to do. You need to maybe have your dog start picking people for the Cowboys, and maybe they'll actually get past.
It's possible, or he could be the next head coach. Who knows?
Exactly. So, but interesting. Hey, real quick, another quick question for you that you didn't get a chance to answer because you weren't here is Kevin Durant. Where would you put him in the all-time list? Round what number?
Lord, because me and Frankie, we always talk about this because Frankie can't stand Kevin Durant. I honestly can't stand Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant I don't know, man. I got to put him down there at the low end. I mean, God, I don't even know what. I'd have to think about that one. I don't want to give out a crazy number, but I'd have to really put some thought into that. It wouldn't be where he's not at the top. I mean, he's down there because I feel like with Kevin,
when you say down there, where is down there?
God, I don't know. Maybe around the 50s or 60s. I'd have to go relatively. Yeah, you know why? Because his ass could never get a damn championship without the leadership that was provided by the team of Kerr and what's his name?
So
it's a leadership thing for me.
Okay, well, so if you're basing it on that, if you're basing it on you feel like he got gifted rings, does that put him ahead or behind Barkley or Malone?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I get where you're going with that. I do. I think Malone, but the caveat to Malone was Jordan. If Jordan hadn't been in the league, I think, he would have had 3 or 4 rings. Jordan, because they always went up against Jordan.
Hey, listen, could you possibly say that Malone wouldn't have been anything without the guard?
Oh, yeah. No, Stockton and him they were like Marvin Harrison and Peyton Manning. I mean, they were synonymous. No, I'm totally there with you. I agree because he set him up beautifully a lot of times. I just think that, the problem with Utah was just Chicago. And everybody had a problem at the time with Chicago. That's why nobody could beat their asses in the playoffs when they got on that. Once they became Chicago, because, Chicago kind of struggled at first until they got that first championship. And then once they got that first one, they never lost. So, with Jordan. So I think, with Utah, I mean, because Karl Malone he's still the mailman.
Yeah.
I mean, that guy was a mailman for a reason, right? I don't like him as a person.
No way, Dustin. No way.
Yeah, I
got him. No. Like I said, I am not even a basketball guy, and I can name at minimum 10 and likely 15. Because when we started to do comparisons that you may not have been here for, would you compare AD? Who's better, AD or Scottie Pippen?
I'm going with Pippen. Because I like Pippen as a defensive guru. Like, what he could do on the defensive side of the ball was stupid. Well, and Durant doesn't play defense.
Yeah.
So, in my opinion, Durant is a one-sided player. And again, there's a lot of things. I mean, if you want to look at his shooting ability, his range of shooting, things like that, okay, yeah, you could probably put him in that top 20, whatever. But if you want to look at the complete player, the whole package, he's one-sided. And that's it.
And that's the thing, right? Is you're talking about exactly that, right? He may be one of the best scorers all time. Absolutely. That's not the only thing you do in basketball, though.
Right.
So, is he one of the best scorers all time? Hands down. Can't even debate that. Like, dude puts up points, right?
So just on that alone, you're saying, okay, Dustin, I mean, because I mean, one of the first guys that I brought up on my list was like, okay, so is he better than Kareem?
No.
Oh, hell no.
No, not better than Kareem. All right, so and like I said, my top five are actually fairly simple here. You can go with Russell or Chamberlain as in that number one. Michael Jordan probably you're going to put into that list of those guys up there. Kobe Bryant in that list there. So now we've got four. We haven't even gotten to Larry Bird. We haven't even gotten to Magic Johnson. We haven't even gotten into any of those other players like those very high second tier level guys. You know what I mean?
Well, think about it like this too.
Barkley,
Ask him a more legit question. Is he better than Anthony Davis? When Anthony Davis isn't injured, because Anthony Davis has his injuries. But as a player, I think Anthony Davis is better than Durant.
No,
I do. I think he is.
Yeah, skill set wise, maybe he is, but we're never gonna know because he can't stay healthy. You can't just be like,
oh, I get it. I'm just saying, I mean, like again, the injury thing is always the thing that hampers it, right? But when we look at him at full strength, like for example, look at him when he played the first year in LA when they got the title. Even though I understand it's a bubble year, but still, look how he still. I don't know. He still has more attributes and more leadership than what Durant has. And I've seen a lot of polls where Anthony Davis is ranked at 53. Now, I don't think he ends there, but that's where a lot of people have him ranked around the 53, 54 area. That's why I'm saying that's why I put Kevin at around the 60. Because if a lot of polls are going to put him at 53, and I personally think that even if you want to say that Davis is a lot better, assuming that Durant's a little bit better than this, it still puts it around the 50s, right? He may be a little bit higher. He may be 50 and Davis can be 54. But come on, man. This is Anthony freaking Davis. This is AD. Come on,
you're going to put him with Magic?
Really? I wouldn't put him with Magic. Not at all. Like that's just my opinion. Hey, everybody, and that's the great thing about being in the United States of America because we can get to do these types of things. Truth of the matter is that like I'd have a hard time. Like I'm gonna go right back to Philadelphia here. Is KD better than Doc?
I'd say that's probably close.
Real close.
Yeah,
real close.
Yeah.
And the reason why Doc isn't in the talk about the highest scorer of all time is because he played so many years in the ABA and they don't count that. So it's a whole different world. But yes, I feel like that's close. You could even go put it in there for Moses Malone. Sure. Moses Malone would be similar to that. Dirk Nowitzki.
I even like Elvin Hayes.
Dirk Nowitzki. Similar, it's like now I'm putting him in the same category. Like but that is in the 20 range. We're talking from 18 to 25 area. That's my thought. My opinion.
Well, I see on some lists where AI is ranked at 40. I've seen on some lists we're heading.
And I'm telling you that
I know damn good well. I think AI is better than freaking.
And that is all because of the people voting aren't 75 years old.
Exactly.
And remember,
I get it. Yeah.
People up there. So like I said, Dominique Wilkins. Sidney Moncrief. Now, Sidney Moncrief, I think definitely that AD's better than him. Or not AD, KD is better than him. But Wilkins, I don't know. That's Karl Malone. I still think no, absolutely not. You know what I mean? Even like I said, Scottie Pippen. And I don't think he's got much long. Who knows? It's possible. He may move up because of where he's at, but I don't think he sniffs the conversation of the top 10. He may try to get up.
Okay, take a guy like Paul Pierce. Paul Pierce with the Celtics was the leader of that team. Even when Garnett and company all came and got him that ring, he was still the leader of that team. And I thought Paul Pierce was a great one, but they got Paul Pierce down around the 50s and something.
Well, so what spurred this conversation was he had posted something to the effect that he should be in the conversation of the greatest of all time. And we're having a hard time justifying him inside the top 20. Right. And even if you are going to go with the 75th anniversary team and he lands at 13 isn't one, is it? So it's right. That's
but Bo, we're missing an important component. Now this is where I will go just a teeny bit right on this. If you're KD and you're wanting to get your next big contract, next big whatever, from a business standpoint, from a personal standpoint, of course I'm going to say I'm the best there is. No, because I'm an athlete and I got to be, he's not going to come out and say, well, these guys are.
That's not where it came from,
right? Even though we all know he's not.
No, that's not where it came from, though.
Okay, well, maybe I misunderstood that.
No. He was basically being asked, do you consider yourself, do you think you should be in the conversation at the greatest of all time? And, he basically said, yes, I've done enough to be the best. And I mean, we're having this conversation. And, the argument I made before is if you have to tell people you are, you probably aren't, right? Like that's as soon as people are throwing it out there as you are, all of a sudden, maybe you've done enough. But if you have to be out there lobbying, hey, I'm the best, you're probably not there yet. So not to say you can't get there, but man, you'd have to do some work. But that being said, if you want to be in that conversation, you can't be by the metrics we're throwing out right now, somewhere between 20 and 25.
All right, so here it is. I have it. I pulled it up. So number 1 is Jordan, 2 LeBron James, 3 Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, which I still think is ridiculous there. 4th is Magic Johnson. 5th is Wilt Chamberlain. 6th is Bill Russell. 7 is Larry Bird. 8 is Tim Duncan, which is interesting one there. 9, Oscar Robertson.
Okay.
10, Kobe Bryant, which I think is a little ridiculous. 11, Shaquille O'Neal. 12 is Kevin Durant, which I think is unheard of. Number 13, Hakeem Olajuwon. 14, Julius Erving. 15, Moses Malone. 16, Stephen Curry. 17, Dirk Nowitzki. 18, Giannis. 19, Jerry West. And 20, Elgin Baylor. Now, I haven't even thought about Elgin Baylor or Tim Duncan or anything like that because I still feel like they got 21 is Kevin Garnett, Charles Barkley, 22, Karl Malone, 23, Stockton, 24, and I feel like David Robinson, 25. I'm telling you, I didn't even mention half of those names. And I don't see, it's like to have him up that high, no way.
Yeah.
I just think it's fun. I mean, I just think it's crazy that you put what's his name? What's his name below help me out, man. Steph Curry. I can't believe you had Kevin Durant over Steph Curry. The fact that he even had to come to Steph's team to get a ring, that just tells you everything you need to know. Come on.
Allen Iverson's 31. And they got Kawhi Leonard at 33. It's like as I'm going through the list and just calling out names. Dominique Wilkins at 36, which is ridiculous. You could tell that person never saw that. Steve Nash is 37. Kevin McHale at 39. That's probably right. Patrick Ewing at number 40.
Wow.
Again, they don't see that. Gary Payton, 42. To give out some Sonics. Jason Kidd, 43. 43. Bill Walton, 44. Again, I don't think you got Bob McAdoo, Jerry Lucas. You got some of these old guys that are lower on the list because you're not watching them play. No, that's part of the problem.
I mean, if you're having guys like Gary Payton and Sean Kemp way down the list, I mean, you obviously didn't watch them play in the 90s.
Yeah. And then I wonder how many. And again, during this span, this is another thing that's so hard to do because during the span of 75 to 1, how many decades of change did the NBA go through? That some of these stats could be altered if they even have anyway. Because some of the stuff that KD could do now, he wouldn't have been able to do back in those days, or so forth. Because he wouldn't. There would have been less fouls. It would have been more. I don't know. It's just a lot of change. It's a lot of change to make those. Some of those things.
I think the emphasis on the 3-point game definitely, aids in some of these scoring titles and stuff like that. Because if you look at the game today versus, the 3-pointer was really an afterthought in most offenses, really. And
absolutely.
So, they jack up threes all day now. So, of course, they're setting records with threes because,
right.
And then, obviously, the defense isn't what it used to be. Obviously, we've covered that forever, right?
Sometimes you have to almost take, to a certain degree, you got to take stats out of the main portion of the window, right? I look at the guy's inner composition. Like I said, he when you look at a baseball player, most of your guys are 5-tool guys that are the ones that are greats. They're the 5-tool guys, and I don't see Kevin Durant as a 5-tool guy. He may be 1 or 2 tools out of the 5, and I don't see how having 1 or 2 tools, whether it be passing and shooting, can overcome leadership and defense.
You watch him on Twitter, I would say he has all the tools.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? And this raises a good point with what Dustin asked. Where does Jokic land? When his career's done. I'll tell you what. That thought on that is this is Maguire Sosa without the steroids, where Joker and Embiid going back and forth. They're going to be listed ultimately if they go another 7 to 10 years. And truth of the matter is that I thought last year Joker had a better year. I thought the year before that Embiid had a better year, but they gave it back to Joker. Interestingly enough, this year I think that Embiid's having the better year. Yeah, Embiid's a much better year this year than Joker. That being said, it's going to be interesting to see if they give it to Embiid back-to-back like they gave it to Joker back-to-back. Truth of the matter is, it should have gone Joker, Embiid, Joker, and then this year probably be Embiid. That's what I saw. That Joker did not have, 2 years ago, he did not have the year Embiid had, but they gave it to him. So it's going to be an interesting thing to see. And I think that they are going to elevate themselves up higher on that list. So when you're done, it's going to be hard to determine which one's the better of the two, but they're both could possibly top 10 of all time.
Yeah.
I hear what you're saying. I think for me, I feel like Joker has more intangibles than Embiid. Making people better, working within systems. There's so many more intangibles than just the physical aspect of basketball that I think Embiid brings to a team to get them to the championship level, right? To get the ring, right? There's a lot of things you got to have to be like Kobe had it, the Mamba mentality. Having made people better around him. Those are guys that are truly the greatest of the game.
So, but I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt because you're down in Texas and you don't get to watch as many Sixers games as I do.
Yeah.
And watching those games this year, with the new coach, because I was not a fan of Glenn Rivers coaching this team. I thought that he was not a good coach for this team. But now watching Nick Nurse coach this team, he's got more rebounds than he's ever had. He's got more assists than he's ever had. He's even got more steals than he's ever had. All 3 of those categories, he is leading his career. On top of the fact that he just, like I said, he is leading the scoring in the NBA by like 3 points a game. Mm-hmm. So where Joker is what Joker is, and he's a great player, so I'm not going to dismiss that. But it's also, he's been coached a very specific way, and they're utilizing all his things. So, yes, I feel like maybe they gave it to Embiid last year because they should have gave it to him the year before, and they didn't. I feel like it should have been Joker, Embiid, Joker, and then as of right now, Embiid. Sure. And I think that's a real statement, but I don't get a vote. You know, and when you heard the votes last year or 2 years ago, when the one guy who was a Knicks fan on the Mike whatever his goofball name was in ESPN, and he had his intern
Like
vote.
Kornhauser? Is it Kornhauser?
No. He was part of the Mike and Mike show, and he was.
Oh
he
yeah.
played
Okay.
football.
Yeah.
He was the one that did play football, the little skinny runt. Yeah,
Right.
that guy who let his intern make the pick and then said it out loud on his show. He's like, "Oh, maybe I shouldn't have let you make that pick because you chose wrong there, dummy." You know what I mean? And that's because he didn't like the Sixers because he's a Knicks fan, and that's what happens with Knicks fans. Where's Mac at when I need to talk to him? Yeah, it's obviously. Yeah, we don't know that he's going to retire with a triple double average. We don't know that for a fact. So you can't say that right now. He's still got some ways to go yet. Could he? Is it possible? Maybe. But you don't know that he's going to do that. You know, and ultimately, they said he's strong right now. In 3 years, he may not be so strong. And same thing with Embiid. So we can't say that. We can't look into the future and say that this is what he is going to do. And we can just hypothesize that it may occur that way. And yes, if he does that, then yes, he would deserve to be possibly even in the top 5.
I got to see Joker make it into the playoffs. I mean, like be healthy in the playoffs. It seems like every playoffs there's always something wrong with him when it comes playoff time.
Embiid.
You know, every playoff, something wrong with him. He's just not fully there. And that's if I would tell you right now, if you told me, Jay, you're a GM and you got one player to choose to build your team around right now, I would choose Joker. And it's not a knock on Embiid, but Joker's healthy and he stays healthy and he has all the attributes that I would want in a player. And as a leader, and as on a field general level, he just has all the things. And it's not a knock on Embiid. It's just I don't think Embiid is quite.
No. I don't know that he is a field general. I absolutely no. I don't think so. I think that he is an amazing player, but somebody else runs that offense and they run it through him. Somebody else is calling. He's not the leader. He is the high figure, and they go as far as he takes them. But I don't believe that he's the leader because he wanted to get the frig out of there the moment they won a championship. He's like, I got to go back to Serbia. You know what I mean? I ain't interested in.
Well, I'm not. He ain't got to stay around for that. Just do it on the court. I mean, just because he don't want to stick around.
No. But you, it's that mentality. It's that mentality. Hey, this is a job for me. This is whatever. I'm telling you, he's not the leader that you're saying that he is. I'm saying he's a great player.
Well, let me ask you this.
That he is
when he threw your boy Simmons under the bus, why didn't he stick up more for him? I'm not saying, sometimes, sometimes you stick up for your teammates because it's part of the game. Even if you don't like what they're doing, you still stick up for them. It's part of the game. That's a leader to me. Now, you may have your conversations in closed doors, but you don't come out on public TV and start criticizing people and have the riff that he put in that team. I ain't never seen Joker do that. And I'm pretty sure Joker got pissed off at a lot of his teammates.
You sure?
But he never did that. And to me, that's the issue. And maybe it's just
also, how many times did Joker? And I'm not gonna take anybody's side on this, but we're talking about Ben Simmons, who decided, hey, listen, he's got an open layup underneath the basket and decided in the crucial time of a game to throw it back outside with no time left on the shot clock. All he had to do was dunk it. He could have dunked it. There was nobody around him, but yet he chose that. He chose that. And then how do you not criticize that? How do you not criticize that? Obviously,
you criticize it, but I think you do it in the locker room. You do it behind the doors. You don't do it out there in the public.
Well, when you get asked it and asked it.
I'm on a team with Embiid, and he doesn't like the decision I made. I'm going to get
Rivers did it first. Glenn Rivers did it first. Glenn Rivers was like, yeah, he should have taken the shot. Then you asked Joel Embiid, and he's like, yeah, he should have taken the shot. He didn't really do anything bad. You could think whatever you want, but he didn't say anything bad there. And then you have Ben Simmons, I'm taking my ball and going home. I don't want to play. Oh, you're not going to pay me? Oh, guess what? I'm back. Get the frig out of here. So
everything you're saying, I get it, brother. I do. I get everything you're saying. I just think for me, a leader is a hard damn job to have. Trust me, I know leadership.
Heavy is the crown. Heavy is the crown. Heavy is the crown.
But,
so I get it, and I'm telling you,
don't get me wrong, man. I think Embiid's a great guy. I don't like him as a leader.
Well, listen, you know what? I'll be honest with you. I'm saying in both cases, not just Joker or Embiid. I don't think either one are the leader of their team. They may be the one that has the most say because they get the most points and they get the most accolades, and obviously they are the ones that are in the MVP talk. But I think this team runs through Maxey. Maxey is the guy who's the leader of this team. You know what I mean? And that's okay because listen, Joel Embiid has got other things he's got to worry about. Hey, I don't want to be the leader of this team. You just have me score 70 points and 18 rebounds a game, and I'll be happy. You know what? And guess what? We'll be happy too. Yeah. Same thing with Joker.
Yeah, I bet you would be happy.
And that's the same thing I think what's happening with Denver too. I think listen. It's you can't have an MVP on your team and not have everybody around it be okay with the fact that he's an MVP on the team, because then you get a fight with egos and then you don't get to the promised land. I
think the MVPs don't state that they're the MVP. They just go out there and they do all the things that they need to do, and they let the stats speak them. You know what I'm saying? Right?
And the thing that's funny is that phrase right there is exactly my point. Durant's not that greatest of all time. If you have to go out and solicit that,
I agree. Totally. Yeah.
So
trust me. We had many conversations about Durant and the issues with Durant. If you ask Frankie right now, he would vomit how much he hates Durant.
On the plus side, we took 45 minutes for you to finally come and get to what my point was.
Right. That Durant. As far as I'm concerned, Durant doesn't make the top 20.
Yeah,
absolutely. I would agree with that 100%.
Yeah.
So, and that's
I don't think that's a hard thing to say. Is that a hard thing to say? I don't think that is.
Apparently it is.
Well, I mean, hey, listen, they did, like I said, and the ESPN chose the top 75 and they put him at 12.
Yeah.
I just have a hard time seeing that. You're going off of just his numbers and scoring.
Sure.
And that's it. It's, yes, he was the top scorer in for the team that went with the Warriors. But that was Steph Curry's team. Everything runs through that. And I kind of feel like that's part of it. See, the one thing that's different between Michael Jordan, and I'll even go with Larry Bird, Kobe Bryant, is that they had the offenses run through them.
Yeah.
They were the ones that did it. Larry Bird, that's part of the reason why I feel like Larry Bird, and I hated Larry Bird. I hated him because I was a Sixers fan. How do you not hate Larry Bird if you're a Sixers fan? And you got Michael Jordan. They were trash talkers.
Yeah.
They talked the trash and then went back and proved it. And shoved it in your face, stuck your nose in it. Was like, guess what? Like that is what I'm talking. Kobe Bryant did the same.
I agree.
Thing.
Yeah.
Kobe Bryant did the same thing.
So actually, great example. So when you think of Kobe Bryant, right? Had he only won the 3 with Shaq, you wouldn't think the same of him. The fact that he rattled off 2 more without him, that makes his career. That's what makes that makes him a top 10 basketball player all time. If he had to have Shaq there the whole time, there'd be real doubt. He'd probably be lauded in that 20 range. But for him to be able to come back after that, because I mean, let's be honest, that tandem was insane. But he breaks away from that and he wins another ring or another 2 rings, right? That changes his position in this.
Well, what was interesting about that team, though, was the team with Shaq versus the team with what's his name, the big tall dude. It wasn't even the same type of team.
No,
the way their team was run was all different because Shaq was the big guy down the middle. Everything went through, but they had to change up everything when Shaq left, and he was still making. Like I said, you're still getting rings. My question is this: when they come up with these lists, like you can Google top 75, whatever. I wonder if people are making up these lists. When they put people in certain spots, if they put them there because they feel the pressure to put them there and not how they really feel, because maybe they don't want to take away the legitimacy of what other people think, which would hurt their rankings or hurt their reputation, and they're afraid to say what they really feel.
So I don't think it's that, because let's be honest, they want the clicks. They're fine with making people mad. You look at guys like Skip Bayless and Stephen A. They've made a whole career out of pissing people off. So I don't think the writers actually really mind if they put somebody too low and let people freak out, because it gets them the clicks and the views that they want. So I don't think it's that. I think these guys get placed because of recency bias. They didn't see them. Like, there's going to be some old guys that I didn't watch, right? Because I just wasn't old enough, that I wouldn't have super high on the list. I didn't see them play. Right now, I know they're great. I've seen video of them being great, but I didn't watch them play in real time. Right? I mean, I didn't watch 70s basketball. I wasn't born yet. It is what it is. So
what a shame of you. Look how you just told me your age without even telling me your age. God, I love you.
I mean, you already know. I was an 80s kid. So, and that's when I started watching, right? Was 80s. So I got to watch, the end of, Larry Bird and, Magic, and of course all of, Jordan and all of that. So I got to watch those guys play. I didn't get to watch, that 60s and 70s basketball. So they're going to hit a little different on my list. Now, some of the guys that are top are still going to be top, because they did things that when you go back and watch, or you look at the stats, you're just like, man, that's unbelievable for the time period. But
Wilt Chamberlain and Russell, both of those, the rings Russell's got, obviously, and because of the legend of Wilt Chamberlain, you know what I mean?
Right.
Well, so I say all of that to say this is there's so much recency bias to the guys making this list that you're going to have guys that are on there that are kind of high on there that don't make any sense, especially what they've done so far.
You know what's interesting to me? And is the fact that, Wilt obviously had the 100-point game.
Sure.
And, given that now in today's, NBA and the frequency of the three, or the validity of the three, I'm really surprised that 70 or 80, even the 81, the 81 is the highest that somebody's gotten. 81 is still, it's like 19, you're still 19 points away from Wilt. I mean, how crazy was that record? How crazy was he? The fact that even in today's basketball, and everything that they know, and how it's changed, and the amount of points you can score now because of the three ball, but yet they still haven't touched them.
And they lost that game, by the way. They lost that game, 100%. Yeah. But they had to change rules because of Wilt Chamberlain. He used to dunk from the free throw line.
Yeah.
And they had to stop that. So he had to then throw it underhand, because that was at least a better chance of him trying to make it than going overhand. So, but I think he shot like 43 free throws in that game. So he had only made like 60 points, but had 43 free throws. Well, damn. He dunked it 40 times from the free throw line. That's why they changed. That's why they had to change the rules.
Yeah,
that's why things had to.
But that's also why he's a legend too, and why he stood this test of time. Even when people don't even know who Wilt is, they just heard the name Wilt.
Yeah, well, listen. I mean, hey, how many kids has he got out there?
Oh, he's got a lot. I mean, let's be honest. Yeah, he was magic before magic was magic in terms of women.
It's funny. It's funny. Out of all the names that I mentioned on that list of 76. You know who I didn't see his name, and I feel like absolutely is probably in the top 30 or 40, like just right now. Now his name just escapes me. The guy in Miami. You
talking about Wade?
No.
Oh, you mean like president? Oh, golly.
Butler, Jimmy Butler.
Thank you, Jesus.
Jimmy Buckets should absolutely be on that list. And because he's not on the list because he has an attitude problem with the media. You know what I mean? It had nothing to do with anything else. He had an attitude problem with the media.
Yeah.
Get out of here. You know what I mean? It's not.
It's like everything else. It's not about what you do. It's about how much people. That's what I hate about all this. All these accolades things. It's all based on if people like you or don't like. When did our world come down to a damn popularity contest? Why ain't it about what you can do on the damn court?
You know, I mean,
that's always been one thing that always, and I think it goes back to what we were talking about earlier, Pags, when we were talking about Hall of Fames and things like that. You know, it's all popularity, and I mean, when did we become a reality TV show where we base things on people's likability?
Yeah,
I don't care about. I don't care if you're likable. What are you doing on the court?
That's what gets the clicks. That's what gets the clicks.
Oh, I get it. I understand. It's an entertainment world.
You know, we're gonna, and at one point we're gonna put out our coast to coast top 25 quarterbacks of the NFL, and it'll be interesting because I know that you're gonna put Dak Prescott in the top 5, and he just doesn't belong there.
Why are you hating on me so much, man?
Actually, but you know what? What's ridiculous though is that if you asked enough people, there's going to be somebody who says Steve Young was a better quarterback than Joe Montana.
Yeah, and that's crazy. That's crazy talk. That's crazy talk.
It definitely is that.
And the same thing with so and ultimately you could say, hey, Steve Young or John Elway. Like even there, because hey, listen, Elway had a great career, but and then you go Elway to Manning, Peyton. Of course, I'm not talking about Eli because Eli shouldn't even be in that conversation. But
so in that scenario, I'd have Peyton over Elway. But I mean, Elway's tough, right? Because I mean, it's not like he didn't make it to a few before he won, right?
Right.
And one of the guys that always gets hammered on this list because he didn't win despite going to 4 is Kelly. He was a good player. Like, dude, bowled out.
I understand, man. Manning's a likable guy. He does have a lot of passing yards. He's got a crap ton of passing yards. But what I liked more about Elway than I did with Manning is Elway could do it on the feet or the damn air. Like he was a damn running quarterback before we knew what running quarterbacks were. I mean, how many? You can go back and watch the Houston game when Denver was down by 37 points, and I literally watched Elway on the ground run that team into victory.
Yeah, I mean,
it's crazy. I mean, and of course now we're getting into 5 tools versus I don't know. I mean, because I know Alexa said stats are stats, but I think people got to look at the whole body of work and not just one particular stat, because again, that is a damn impressive stat. Don't get me wrong, but you got to look at everything, man.
Well, I mean, you know what I look at? That Elway got spanked in a couple of Super Bowls, like 55-10.
That's true.
45-3 and whatever. It was like he got his ass handed to him.
But trust me, Manning did too, though.
Before Terrell Davis, correct.
Yeah.
Well, that's
hey, listen,
you're right.
Peyton Manning. I could have the argument that Peyton Manning couldn't win a big game on his own. He needed a defense. If it wasn't for the defenses of both his Super Bowls, he would not have won them. Because when it comes to very big games, Peyton Manning from college would come up small. That doesn't mean hey, listen, he was a great player, and I'm not talking bad about Peyton Manning. However, he, when it came to, he would overthink things. He would overthink, and that overthinking things would cause problems. You know what I mean? I mean, what? He had the fastest safety in NFL history, did he not?
He did.
Yeah,
in the Super Bowl.
Absolutely.
And let's be honest, that second Super Bowl, that wasn't Manning. That was a game manager that had experience. Yes. But it's not like he's out there throwing 300 yards, 4 touchdowns. I mean, he did just what he needed to do, and like you said, Pags, he let everybody else around him, shine and got them that damn Super Bowl.
Yeah, well, exactly. You know what I mean? Because you think about that the year before. Who was the quarterback the year before they went to the Super Bowl? Well, I guess he lost that Super Bowl, and then he came back and they won it again. So, but who went there? Who took them to the playoffs the year before that?
You asked me that damn question.
He was on a knee. He was praying to God
all the time. Good old Tebow.
I wanted to see if Jay sweated out.
Damn, I forgot about that. Yes, right.
And he won a playoff game.
He did.
And it was like the worst thing in the world. I remember watching John Elway's face when he won the playoff game. He's like, damn it, I'm stuck with this guy. He's like,
well, and it was funny because the Steelers were looking around like, no way, we just lost to this guy.
Yeah, but they sure as hell did, though.
They did. They sure did.
And it was a 7-9 team, or no, it was an 8-8 team.
They were right there at the cusp.
Yeah.
Maybe it was a 7-8-1 team. I thought they did not have the. They did not have a winning record. For some reason, I remember that, and he won that.
I think they did when Tebow was there, because at that point, the only team to have really done anything with a losing record was the Seahawks. Happened to win the division with a losing record, the first team to do that, and that was around that era.
Right. So, but I remember it was like, so maybe it was 8-8 that they were in that, and what was it? A 92-yard touchdown in overtime to win that game.
Yeah.
Hey, since there's only a little bit of time left here, I just wanted to throw out a fun stat that I read earlier today, that the 0-16 Lions have been to more NFC Championship games than the
1-15 Cowboys.
Yeah.
You know, Bo, one of the things I love about you is that how you have your own original shit.
Oh, no.
You're not afraid to dive back into archives and pull up something that was said about 50 times. I'm just trying to tell you, that's why I love you, Bo. Because you literally have your own stuff.
Hey, look at that.
That star is just a rating. 1 star.
It's not even a whole star anymore, right? It's just
Bo. This is how I know you're gonna make it to ESPN. Seriously, you're gonna. I feel like for the next year you're gonna, because you have stuff like that.
There you go. Well, listen, guys, thank you so much for hanging with us. Thank you for everybody who hung with us today and all the comments and everything. We'll be back again tomorrow talking sports. We may have a coaching change. We may have a hiring. We may have another firing. We may have another player go for 70 points. You just never know what's going to happen in sports every day. So for Bo and for Jay, who's always late, and me, myself, Pags, we will see you guys tomorrow. Have a great night.
Take it easy, guys.